How's it going, everyone? K Lumity here, and today we're going to be talking about a PlayStation 1 game. Today we are talking about A Bug's Life on the PlayStation 1. A Bug's Life is a movie that came out years ago, and it was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I loved it, and I remember playing this video game actually a lot as a kid as well. And I actually thought I beat this game as a kid, but apparently I didn't, because the further I got into the game, I realized that there were some levels towards the end that I did not recognize. So I must have never actually beat this game growing up. I must have just gotten, like, pretty far in it. I think I got to, like, the second to last boss fight, and I probably just got stuck and never played it again as a kid or something like that. But this time, I played all the way through it. I beat the game. It took about 4.5 to 5 hours, because I'm not very good at video games. If you're better than me, you could probably do it quicker. and if you're doing an actual 100% completion run, it would probably take you, I'd say, probably like 8 to 10 hours or something like that, if you're trying to get every single little collectible and everything like that. But this game is a 3D platformer. There's a ton of them on the PlayStation 1, and I used to think that this was really good, and that was definitely me looking at this game with some nostalgia goggles on, because this game isn't as good as I remembered. I still like it, but I feel like I may like it because of the memories more than the actual gameplay itself. The biggest enemy in this game is actually the controller, because the controls are so bad. The controls are really bad in this game. It doesn't help that the character is it feels like the character's walking on ice. Like, it's a little bit slippery, which is never good in the 3D platformer. And it just seems like there's a lot of areas also where you can just slip off super easily. It's like there's one small flat surface, and even on the, if you step to one wrong side of that flat surface, you can just slide off a log or something super easily, and it's really aggravating when that happens. And especially later on, towards the end of the game, when that starts happening, it's really, really annoying when you're in like a boss fight and it starts doing that. So it doesn't control the best, but there is still good things about this game, even though the controls are really, really, honestly, kind of rough by today's standards. I still think that this game looks pretty good for a PlayStation 1 game. I think it's very bright and very colorful, and I do like a lot of the level design. I think the level design is pretty good. The majority of the levels are just you basically trying to find your way to the very end of the level. There's usually like a little green flag that marks the end of the level that you need to get to. And it usually consists of you trying to figure out how to get there, and it has a bunch of different puzzles and different, basically, I guess just puzzles to figure out how to get to the end of the level and get the upgrades you need to get to the end of the level. Because as you're going through each level, you're upgrading your berries, you're upgrading the plants that you get. You collect these little plants, and you can actually change them to different sizes. You can change them to different powers and stuff. Like, these plants can give you, some of them can give you invincibility, some of them give you health back, some of them can turn into bouncing mushrooms. You can upgrade the bouncing mushrooms to turn into these little helicopter things that will blow you up into the air. So the whole point of this game is really collecting the plants that you need and upgrading the plants in each level to get to the end of the level. It's an interesting idea. Not many games that I've played like this either. That's one of the great things about the PlayStation 1, is that a lot of the platformers back then did feel very unique. There's not another platformer that feels exactly like A Bug's Life, and that's probably one of the reasons why I remember it so fondly, is because there really is no other game exactly like this. I always like the fact that this game also didn't have your regular attack that you would see in Crash Bandicoot or Spyro or something like that. It's not really a close range attack. Your character actually throws berries, and depending on the color of the berry, the more powerful your attack is going to be. And you have to upgrade your berry as you go through the levels as well, because some of the tougher enemies, for example, grasshoppers, you're going to have a stronger berry to be able to take them down, to be able to get through the thick shell that they have. So I do like that. Kind of unique for a platforming game. Kind of unique, especially considering the PlayStation 1 library. I feel like it's very unique for the PlayStation 1 library to have that type of mechanic going on in a platformer game. But it's really good. I really actually do enjoy that part of it. The actual characters and everything, they're all from the movie. Just like any other Disney game that I've played so far, you get little cutscenes from the movie. At least I've seen that pretty much on every single PlayStation 1 game that's made by Disney, I feel like, or that is based on Disney properties. I feel like they always try to include some scenes from the movie in it. And it's always kind of funny on these old games, because they didn't obviously have an achievement system or anything. So whenever you're collecting all the collectibles, at the end of the level, if you collect all the collectibles, it's just oh, you unlocked a scene from the movie. woohoo! Like these days, it's like, who cares? But back then, I remember like that was kind of a big deal to go and get all the extras and everything like that. So it's just kind of a, how it was back then. You would get excited for just unlocking a piece of a movie, even though you had the VHS or the DVD or whatever, and you could watch it at any time. Doesn't matter. You still unlock a piece of the movie in the video game, and you still got excited about it because that's all there was to unlock. But yeah, I do really still, even though this game's controls are very, very rough around the edges, I have to say that I still enjoy what's here. It's still a very pretty game for a PlayStation 1 game. It's still very bright, very vibrant. The level design is still really good. I really like the level design. I like that the levels have a lot of different paths that you can go on, a lot of different hidden areas to go on. And the way that you get to those areas is by like collecting grain, because you gotta collect grain on each level. It's another one of the things that you have to collect. And if you collect so many, then you'll be able to like open up certain doors and stuff. Like certain doors will require you to have 20 grain, and if you have 20 grain, that door will open for you, and stuff like that. And I do like that. Also, I think that's pretty cool. It gives you a bunch of different like areas to explore basically, and just find more collectibles, and also more stuff that will help you out and basically finish the level. And there are like 3 main things that you're supposed to collect for each level to get like one of those little movie scenes. The first thing is obviously all the grain. It wants you to get all the grain, and once you do that, I think there's like usually like 50 per level. And once you do that, it will give you like a little check mark or a golden medallion or whatever. It will give you a medal basically, and it'll say, hey, you've gotten all of the grain for this level. The next thing you have to do is you have to collect the letters of the main character's name, and the main character's name is Flick, so you have to find Flik, and if you find those 4, it will give you an extra life, and it will also give you a medal and say you found all the letters in this level. And then the final thing to get 100% completion on a level is you have to be able to get the golden berry, which is not always easy. Sometimes it's really hard to find in a level. You have to find out where the golden berry is and how to get it. And once you do eventually find the golden berry, you have to use it, and you have to basically go through the entire level all over again and destroy every single bug that is on that level. And there's some of these levels have quite a few bugs on them that you have to go back and you have to like kind of backtrack to go and destroy the bugs. So it's not a very quick thing. It is very time consuming if you're going to try to 100% all of these levels, and that's why I said earlier on it probably would add quite a few hours if you're wanting to 100% complete this game. One big problem that this video game has too is that sometimes the jump button just doesn't work, and that's a big problem in a platformer. But there's sometimes where I will press the button and it's like there's like an input delay and it just doesn't take it immediately. So you kind of have to jump a little bit further back than you're used to, because if you try to jump right when you're on the edge of a cliff, your character's just going to run off the edge of the cliff every time, and that is so frustrating when that happens. And like that's one thing that you cannot have in a platforming game. You cannot have delayed jumping. So do I recommend that you pick up A Bug's Life? Do I think that you should have this game in your collection? It's kind of hard for me to say, honestly, because I definitely still am a little bit nostalgia blind for this game. I think that if you are a fan of Disney games in general, it's probably not a bad pickup. If you are wanting another platformer and you're just looking for another 3D platformer that's a little bit different, this probably isn't a bad option. But do keep in mind that the controls are not great, so I wouldn't overpay for this game. Usually you can find this game for $10 or under. I wouldn't go more than $10 on this game with how the controls are. And I see this game all the time. Like, it's not a rare game or anything like that. It's pretty common. I think I actually even have like the greatest hits version of this game, so it should be a pretty easy game to find, and it should be pretty easy to find it for pretty cheap. So I wouldn't spend more than $10 on this game. But if you can find it for less than $10, it might be worth it for you if you like 3D platformers or if you like just Disney video games in general. Thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe button down below, and I'll see you next time. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.